A plan can collapse in a single phone call, and the mind instantly turns the setback into a threat. In that moment, frustration and fear rush ahead of facts, and decisions become reactive and sloppy. The core issue is not the obstacle itself, but the meaning assigned to it under pressure. When perception, action, and endurance are untrained, emotions flood attention and block creative responses. Unchecked reactions waste energy, worsen relationships, and make problems grow because follow-through becomes inconsistent. Trained responses create clarity, movement, and resilience, so the same barrier becomes a source of momentum. A project stalls, criticism lands, and the first impulse is to defend, delay, or blame outside forces. A better impulse is to pause, take one useful step, and accept what cannot be changed today. Next, focus on clear perception, deliberate action, and steady will, each reinforcing the other. This video is inspired by The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, and subscribe for more tools to convert setbacks into calm action. Perception is the instant judgment about what happens, and it shapes every subsequent move and emotion. The process involves practicing objectivity, separating facts from personal stories, before deciding what the event means. Objective perception keeps nerves steady by limiting exaggeration and preserving the ability to choose. Subjective perception makes everything feel personal, inflaming emotions and turning small obstacles into spirals. One response says, "This happened," and then immediately adds, "It is bad, unfair, and aimed at me." Another response states only what occurred, leaving room for strategy instead of resentment. This approach turns obstacles into usable information by stopping the mind from arguing with reality. Once perception is clear, the next step appears faster, and action becomes possible without extra drama. Practice removing the word "you" from descriptions and state the situation as clearly as a report. When emotions rise, limit what is under your control, then choose the most useful meaning to carry forward. A practical perception tool involves asking whether the problem is fully, partly, or not at all within your control. The mechanism is to redirect attention toward responses, as these can be chosen even when circumstances cannot. This prevents wasted anger, as fighting reality rarely changes it and often leads to poorer choices. It also prevents helplessness because there is always a response available, even if the response is endurance. When a delay, rejection, or setback appears, the first step is to refuse to panic and ask that control question. If it is not up to you, acceptance follows. If it is up to you, the next action becomes clear. This keeps the obstacle from feeling permanent, as it is treated as a situation to manage, not a fate. The approach creates calm focus, which is essential before any useful action or persistence can occur. Write two lists: what is within your control and what is outside, then work only on the first. Then stay in the present moment, as attention is most powerful when it is not scattered across worries. Begin action by leveraging available resources, rather than waiting for perfect timing. Create momentum through small steps as movement makes obstacles more manageable. Starting generates options while inaction perpetuates the same problem and fosters frustration. Momentum builds courage by teaching what matters and reducing fear of failure. A young aviator accepted an unfair offer to join a transatlantic flight, even without piloting or payment. That first yes initiated momentum, and later she flew solo across the Atlantic by persisting. Action transforms obstacles into opportunities, as opportunities rarely appear in their perfect form at the start. This concept keeps progress under your control by creating momentum instead of waiting for circumstances. Choose one step you can complete today, then finish it before new doubts turn it into a debate. If starting now feels challenging, subscribe for more guidance on creating momentum and acting despite imperfect conditions. Persistence means continuing after failure, returning to the work without rushing, quitting, or chasing quick praise. The mechanism is a deliberate process with iteration, adjusting tactics until a weak spot appears. This matters because most obstacles crack slowly, and steady pressure beats emotional swings and distractions. It also matters because persistence forces creativity, as exhausted options push the mind toward a new approach. Grant spent months trying to take Vicksburg, using attacks, canals, and detours, while critics waited for his replacement. He kept trying, running boats past gun batteries, and eventually found a route that made the defences crack. This is the obstacle becoming the way, as persistence turns repeated resistance into information about where to push. A clear process also quiets noise, as progress is measured by effort applied, not by outside commentary. Commit to a daily practice of effort, reviewing what worked, then adjusting the next attempt with calm focus. When the first route fails, try a second route, as innovation often appears only after exhausting the obvious. Will is the capacity to endure, staying steady when obstacles last longer than expected and progress feels delayed. The mechanism is acceptance, taking events as they are and using them as material for the next move. Acceptance reduces suffering, as resisting reality adds anger and confusion without changing what has already happened. It also protects your effort over time, because endurance keeps you available for attempts 2, 3, and 4. When a fire threatened to destroy Edison's laboratory empire, he stayed calm and treated it as clearing rubbish. That reaction reflects amor fati, loving what happens enough to keep working instead of wasting time grieving. This endurance completes the obstacle approach, as it keeps perception and action functioning under prolonged pressure. It builds an inner foundation, as identity and purpose stop depending on whether the day goes smoothly. Practice anticipation by listing what could block a plan, then write your response for each likely disruption. When disruption happens, manage expectations, return to the present, and continue with the best response available. The goal is not avoiding obstacles, but turning them into material for better judgment, better effort, and endurance. When the obstacle becomes the way, frustration stops being a verdict and becomes a signal for a disciplined response. Perception starts the process by separating facts from stories, limiting emotion, and choosing a useful meaning. Action continues it by moving, persisting, and following a deliberate process until the blockage gives way. Together, these disciplines create courage, because progress depends on behavior, not waiting for perfect comfort. They also create freedom because attention returns to what can be controlled instead of spiraling into complaint. Start with one obstacle today, write the objective facts, and decide one concrete action that fits them. Then practice endurance by accepting delays, planning for disruption, and returning to the work without drama. Over time, the mind learns to convert resistance into opportunity, because every challenge becomes training for the next. Subscribe to stay with this practice, because every new obstacle is a chance to train perception, action, and will.